Hi. So this is part three of that whole little surviving canceling series. Went ahead and decided to go ahead and record this while I was off of work, so I still looked somewhat presentable to human society. Part three, we're going to cover any changes to my methodology after the whole everything that happened. So I mentioned in part one that the original blog post that I did was a bit of a gamble for me, as typically when I write, I tend to focus on either pieces of fiction or people who are already dead, basically, or sort of like universally difficult to have conflict or drama about. I think probably the most controversial person I probably wrote about is either the current president, which, let's be real, if you're reading my blog, you probably agree with me, or RuPaul. But I haven't really gotten a ton of negative feedback on RuPaul. The most controversial person I probably support in the media sphere is probably like ContraPoints or something. I tend to sort of avoid controversy in that regard because it's exhausting. But that also means that I sort of tend to avoid talking about real people. To me, also talking about real people is oftentimes way less interesting. There's a reason why I rather talk about comic books or anime or video games. Real people are messy and confusing sometimes. So when I wrote about the Masons, considering that they're still active and still present and still here, it was a bit of a gamble. And it was something that I took under a lot of consideration doing so, which is why if you go back to the blog post, I try to be as objective as I am, but also as kind as I am. I don't ever in that post try to say that they're terrible people. I never attack character, and I never say that I condone anyone who is terrible. I'm very, very careful with my words. That's something that it actually kind of drives my friends crazy sometimes, is I'm always sort of on PR mode, is I'm always very measured and careful with my words because I understand that my words have weight. I might not be famous, but I do have an audience. And because I have an audience and a microphone, in this case, a literal microphone, it is my responsibility to be careful with my words. Now, I believe I said that it made me more careful with my methodology, and I think I might be lying because going back over that blog post, I don't know what I could have done differently outside of just not written it. Every time I went over a comment that was lobbed at me that was negative, I really didn't see a place where I could have been better. And I don't say that hubristically. I say that as in, I don't think that I could have been kinder. I was kind. I don't think that I could have been more balanced. I think I was balanced. I don't think that I could have been more objective. I think I was pretty objective. And I did everything I could to sort of cover every point that I made because, again, I understand that my words have weight and that I don't ever want to attack physical people. That's never been my goal, is I don't want to attack people. If you read my column or anything else, even though I am the prince of unpopular opinions, I'm never one that likes to attack human beings. Even just in my personal politics and in personal life, here's a little peek behind the curtain. I am way more likely to attack institutions. And I say attack as in like talk about, not physically, obviously. You don't get to my weight and have asthma and be physically attacking anything. But I'm way more apt to criticize institutions than I am to criticize individuals. So if we want to talk about billionaires and possibly trillionaires, I'm not likely to critique Jeff Bezos. I'm likely to critique capitalism as an institution. Bezos found a way to game the system and game recognized game. What I can be upset about is capitalism allowing us to have a situation where a possible trillionaire is a thing. Same thing with Mason's KVs. I'm not going to be mad at really one individual. It's a lot of separate pieces because even though Sophie did share my blog post, it was up to every single individual who took her words and decided to do something about it. That's just how it is. So I'm not likely to attack her, which I still haven't. Nor am I likely to attack any of the people that said something because they're just trying to prove a point, and I have to respect that. But moving forward, it definitely has given me some pause on what I'm willing to cover. It did sort of reinforce to me that, again, like talking about real people is just sort of exhausting. And it would be a lot less messy if I didn't have to worry about that. So it sort of refocused me on talking about television and books and my mental health journey, which you guys have been so supportive with me being on. It's really focused me on wanting to write more about comics and about reality television and things that have, more unilaterally good guys and bad guys. And also, as mentioned, just things that are more interesting to me. There's something hilariously mundane about causing internet drama. There's something hilariously just at this point exhausting about every day someone else looking at this blog post. Like, come on, guys, it's months old. Relax. But there's also this weird fear that I have in the back of my head that this is going to get flared up again, or that someone's going to find this and something is going to happen. It's like a strange phantom that's looming over me, and I'm kind of not comfortable with it anymore. I'm not really sure what to do with the blog post at this point. It's like this weird homunculus that I created, but I don't have the heart to do anything about. It's changed my methodology in the way that it sort of made me change how I approach being a blogger. It gave me fear for the first time, which is far from positive. But it's really also told me that I did everything that I could. And like the capriciousness of the world, even when you're doing everything right, there is always someone who wishes to find fault in that. So my advice to you would be media content creators, just do your best. As long as you feel good about the product that you made and you can go to bed knowing that your intention was not to slander or to be cruel, I think you're doing your best. When I laid my head down that night, when I pressed publish on that post, I did so with a clear conscience. There was nothing in me that had pause or had concern that I felt like I had said anything that I wouldn't say to a friend. I wrote that blog post as if I was talking to someone who I was watching get a little bit too famous and go a little cray-cray. That's how I approached it. I approached it as this is nothing that I wouldn't say to someone that I knew in real life. And I think if you can approach anything that you create that way, you're already on a good track. And just the natural cadence and way that I talk is one that is going to be factual and true, but it's never going to be cruel. I am the last person to be cruel to people. That's just not who I am. I will tell you how it is, but I'm never going to be mean about it. Which is why, again, I think it's so almost funny that this was the post that got people angry. I feel like I've said so much, I am a literal hot take machine, and this is the controversy. It'd be funny if it was happening to someone else. But that's change in methodology. I guess if you are looking for actual advice, I would say consider your source, consider your audience, and consider if this is going to be worth it. Because this is unfortunately the reality of being a writer right now, is that there is always a risk of being #canceled. So I hate kind of putting that fear into it, but if you're going to tackle something like this, I guess be aware that that person might see it. That's the thing with the internet. Whoever you're talking about or their fans might see it, and it might come back to you. And are you ready for that? Now, with the post that I wrote, I could not have foreseen that, but it did cross my mind that they could see this. And while, again, I could not have foretold that this would have been the reaction I got, I don't think I gave enough thought to, oh, they can see this. Because, again, in my mind, I really didn't think that anything I said was that inflammatory. Have another pair of eyes look at it. And if you can have other people sort of verify and agree with you, then do that. I know I had a lot of close friends read the article that I wrote, and everyone agreed with me, not just because they're friends, but because they're editors and writers. If you're really concerned, have another set of eyes look at it. And if you're really, really, really concerned, maybe it's not the time to write what you're writing. Now, don't throw it away. Just keep it somewhere safe. Wait for the heat to die down. Maybe see how things go. Give it time. See if it's something that you're passionate about. See if your opinions change. Because I know after posting and after what I've been through, my opinion definitely changed. And if I had to write that post today, I would be way harsher, which I think is telling. I was able to write that post and I was still a fan, which means that it was probably a bit of a softball. And if I was to write it now, I would not be so kind. I'll say that honestly. So that's change in methodology. If you want anything else on this topic, I'll probably try to wrap up this little series. It's been fun recording, just exhausting because it's an exhausting subject. But thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it as always. Bye bye.